All right, in the last video, we went through how to enter income and expenses into your register account. So now what we're gonna look at is how to post a donation. There are a couple of ways of doing this in Aplos. One is in the register, there's this other tab here that says add contribution. You can do that here, which will ask for the date, the batch name, and then a list of donations that you have kind of a part of the batch that you're about to enter. But instead of this, I'm actually gonna go to a different screen. I'm gonna cancel this. And I'm going to go to donations up here at the top. I'm going to hover over contributions and then click on contributions again here. And that's going to bring me to this page. Now, again, what we're assuming here is that you've already set up some of your purposes and chart of accounts and that kind of thing. So this is more about just now how to get this data in there. So as far as a contribution goes, what you can do is you can do this a couple ways. You can either enter the group of contributions that make up a bank deposit, or you can itemize contributions as individual records and then batch them later. So I'm going to go that route. Let's post a couple contributions and then I'll show you what that looks like. So a couple ways you can do that. You can click the plus button here to add a new one, or you can import them using a template. But if I click the plus button, I'll come in here. I'm going to select a contact. So I'm going to say that Shannon, excuse me, has donated to the capital campaign. Acknowledged just means have you kind of acknowledged this person for this gift. You can either choose to dismiss this, mark it as unacknowledged, or that it has been acknowledged. Again, this is not like a contribution statement. This is more of like you have thanked Shannon for her gift kind of a thing in some form or fashion. So she's great. So I'm going to say that I did acknowledge it. And the contribution date was back on January, say, 2nd for $100. And then if there is some sort of reference ID, you can type that in there. Any sort of note you want to put on there. If there was a fee attached to this 100 to where you only received, say, 97, and there's a $3 fee, you could enter the expense amount there as well as any portion that is non-tax deductible. So if this $100 was for an event for the capital campaign, that it was $100 just to get in the door, then that tax deductible amount would be 100 because you don't actually, that's not a credit for a donation, that is them paying for something. So, and then a note on the non-tax deductible as well, and then a soft credit contact. This would be like if Shannon is donating because of or on behalf of someone, then you can choose kind of another contact or thing that is associated with that to where she still gets the credit on their contribution statement, but you also now have a record of this is why this donation came in. So there's kind of a soft credit there, which would just give you some more data as to how donations are coming to you and your organization. So I'm going to click save and add. You can also save and close if you just want to exit the entry screen, but I'll say save and add. I'll do one more. Let's say that John here is going to donate to the capital campaign as well. That has been unacknowledged. He also donated back on January 7th. And he donated $50. Again, no notes or anything. We'll just click save and close. So now on this screen of contributions, I now have two separate entries here on different dates to different people for different amounts. And so now let's say that I went to the bank at the end of that week and I want to then create a deposit that was for the total amount of what I had received. So what I can do here is I can click these two contributions and say create deposit. That's going to bring me to this entry screen here where I can pick when did I go to the bank. Let's say I went to the bank on the 10th, and the deposit name, I can choose that deposit name. I can customize that if I'd like. Otherwise, it's got these two donations as a part of it. And I'm going to say I want to post this into my accounting, into my checking account, and then click save. So what that does is those contributions are still there. Now it will say that they are a part of this particular deposit. And if I were to go over to the deposits screen, I can see that deposit right there. And then if I were to go back over to my register screen, I can now see that there is a $150 deposit on the 10th. If I click on there, it's going to show me kind of what accounts and funds that it hit, again, based on how I've mapped my purposes, and that has now added to my check register screen. Now, obviously, the best practice that we recommend people do this for is to enter it in the same cadence in which you go to the bank. So for instance, you wouldn't necessarily want to create a deposit every time you have a contribution, because then you're going to just have a flood of deposits here in your register. And then when you do a bank reconciliation, it's going to be really hard to kind of line those things up. So we recommend going to donations, entering contributions, and then batching them accordingly as a deposit. Now, the other way that you can do this is to actually just enter a deposit, which is the same kind of entry option as we had on the register a little bit earlier. If you do this, what it's doing is saying, here is my deposit. So let's say the next week I had a couple of donations. I'm going to say weekly deposit. And then now I'm going to go in here and put who was a part of this. So I'm going to say that on the 8th, Alex donated to the general purpose for $50. Again, any sort of NTD or expense amount option there. And then I'll do one more. Let's say back on the 1st, there was a donation from, we'll say, Aaron, and that was for the capital campaign for $150. So there's my $200 deposit. Again, this would assume that this is the amount that I took to the bank, $200. This is all the donations a part of that $200. I'm going to post it into checking and then click save. You also have the option to not post it into the accounting if you just wanted to kind of keep those things separate. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention here is WePay. If you're using WePay for online donations coming into Aplos, it works generally the same way, but except what happens is they will be itemized as contributions, and they will all show up in the WePay register here. In the register, you can select WePay. I don't have an active account flowing in here, but what it would do is it's going to create a deposit for every single donation that comes in, because the WePay account is almost like a little bank account that you have with WePay, where that's where the money gets stored. So every donation creates a deposit into your WePay asset account that you now have a balance on, and then there would be another button here that says I think it's bank deposit or something like that. But what it does basically is detects all the times that you've moved money from WePay over to your checking, and then you can automate those entries as well. So if you have any questions on the online donations, let us know. Otherwise, all of the contribution entry would be done manually here through the contributions screen.